everyone. This is Sylvia with Odyssey of Enlightenment. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're feeling better and better every day. I received the guidance to post a realization that I keep getting, but like it's been very subtle in the background and I've been pushing it away and like okay, yeah, that's there, but like I guess it didn't really download fully and I didn't really understand it. Like I half understood it and I thought that I understood it. So I was reminded of, everything is your perspective. It's the way you look at it, and be willing to shift your perspective in order to, number one, see clearly, and also, get more information. So I kept being guided to do that. And I was reminded of a 911 call that I had when I was in law enforcement. And a woman was like, she sounded like she was being stabbed, like she was dying. She was screaming so loud in my ear. And I had to calm her down so that I could understand what was happening so I could send her help. And she had her two babies with her little kids. They weren't babies, but they were kids. And she was so freaked out by what she was perceiving to happen. She thought it was a home invasion. Someone was breaking into her home. Her husband was on a business trip. She was home alone. And I mean, knowing what I know now, and obviously all the healing that I've done on myself, you can clearly see she set herself up to think that she can't survive without her husband. She needs her husband to be safe. She can't be safe by herself because she was saying, he's on a business trip and I'm really scared. I'm alone. And I thought, well, you're not alone. You have your kids there. But in her mind, she's alone because they don't count, because the husband's not there. So she thought her house was being broken into. She was hearing noises and banging around. Long story short, I calmed her down, but she wasn't listening. Like she couldn't hear me. She was so dead set on and locked and into that belief that I knew it. I was right. I knew this was crappy. I knew I was going to die. I knew it. And like she was obsessed with thinking that. No matter how hard I tried to get her out of it, I kept trying different techniques to calm her down. And I was whispering so that she would have to be quiet to hear me and things like that. And finally, what ended up happening was she spun herself into such a frenzy, verbally, that she scared her kids out of their mind and they all started throwing up on her. And she was screaming at them. And I had to yell at her. I had to switch from being nice and calm, and I had to use tough love. And I started yelling at her really firmly, like a drill sergeant, basically to verbally slap her back into reality because she couldn't hear me. So I had to get really loud. And I was telling her, their reality is being dictated by your actions. So if mommy thinks it's not safe, then it's not safe. And if mommy's scared, that means there's something really, really wrong. So I was, calling her back home to herself, like, it's okay. I'm here. You're not alone. I'm on the phone with you. I'm getting help. We're all here for you. And finally, I got her to calm down. The officers got their lights and sirens, and it was animals digging in her garbage. There was no break-in. She was not in danger. She was fine. It was all her garbage cans being knocked down that was making all the noise, because as they fell, they were hitting her door. They were hitting the wall to her property. So it sounded like something really bad, but in actuality, it was the animals. And I mean, when we live in a rural area, that comes with the territory. There's a lot of wild animals, and you have to keep your trash cans secured, and because otherwise you're going to draw, things that you don't want there. And it was really interesting to see how she forgot that. And she lives there, she knows, but she forgot. And so it reminded me, like, we all need to be reminded, because it's not like she didn't know. She's not dumb. She knows. But when you're acting from that place of fear and you go into that wounded child space, you're not thinking clearly. You're in full blown panic mode. You're fight or flight and you can't see straight, like she couldn't see straight. And she was so humiliated. But it was a really good lesson for her and for me, because she very clearly showed me, like, look, this is how you look when you're thinking that way, when you're believing the lie, when you're believing the illusion. And I often remind myself, or my guidance reminds me, remember that? That's how you look right now. And I'm thinking, wow, that was so powerfully delivered to me. Thank God it was through somebody else, because I mean, it's true. We all do that sometimes. And to remind ourselves again, hey, it's not true. And so repeatedly over and over, I've had to, like, you feel that sucker punch of fear, because fear wants to tell you, oh no, you know, your stomach drops and you immediately restrict. And you start panicking and you start going through all of the scenarios and all the ways that this is going to blow up and all the ways that you're going to die and that all the ways that this is horrible. And I have been practicing. I've had lots and lots of practice, lots of things popping up to help me to train myself. So there are opportunities to help me to train myself to really get that muscle strong. And I mean, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But the more you go into that mindset of, nope, I refuse to accept that limitation. God is my source. That is not the reality that I choose. And I'm deciding that this is great. And you switch it. You flip that switch and you command it. Even though I can't see it right now, I'm deciding this is great. Thank you. Yes. And like, if you have to jump up and down to celebrate like you won the lottery, then do it. I do it. I literally jump up and down. I look like a crazy person and I don't care. And my kids have seen me and I do it because I want my body to say, oh, she's celebrating. Oh, I guess we got to switch everything into celebration mode. Oh, we're in a party. We're happy. Oh, okay. Like, this is a good thing. This is not a bad thing. So I'll do the things. I'll like say woohoo and scream in excitement and clap my hands and jump up and down and celebrate and declare this is wonderful. And I've done other videos before where I receive something that looks scary. It looks like, oh shit, but I don't let myself go there. So before I open it, whether it's a text message, an email, a letter, a process server coming to deliver documents to my home, whatever, I feel the initial shock because I'm human. I'm going to feel that bump and I feel the resistance, but right away I say no. I refuse to accept that limitation. God is my source. So I remember my power. And I don't choose to participate in drama. So I'm deciding this is wonderful. Like, this is really wonderful. Even though I can't see what's wonderful, I'm deciding that it's wonderful. And the universe is going to show me. Now it's your turn, universe. Show me why this is wonderful. Because I'm deciding to go down the wonderful route. And that's it. Stay away from it. So then the next step is go do something to calm yourself down, to come back into alignment, to come back home to yourself. So you're self-soothing now. Go for a walk, a hike, be out in nature, fresh air, sunshine, flowers, birds, whatever. Listen to very calming, relaxing music. Take a bubble bath, a salt bath, soak your feet. Watch a funny movie, talk to a friend, but don't talk about that thing and don't go down, dissecting all the ways that it can go left. Don't do that. Like, completely get it out of your mind, put it on a shelf. Okay, I'm setting an alarm for 3 hours, and in 3 hours, I'll come look at this when I'm calm, because my intention now is to get back into alignment with myself, come back home to myself, remember who I am. And once I remember who I am, and when I'm in my power and I'm feeling good, then I will walk into whatever that is, opening that email, reading that text, opening that letter, the envelope, whatever it is, making that phone call, calling that person, making that appointment, researching whatever, text information, whatever, 3D things that we have to do, but you don't have to do them feeling crappy. Do them feeling good. Do them feeling grounded, anchored, certain, in that high vibe, high level, who you really are, in that energy. Because when you're in that energy, you feel invincible. You're like, I can totally do this. This is easy. Life is easier than I thought it was possible. And just keep saying those affirmations to yourself and keep pep talking yourself. So I've been noticing, and I've been picking up like a lot of patterns lately, and like being reminded when I'm tempted to go into that, oh fuck, like believing the lie, believing the fear. And I start seeing every single time in the past year, the past 5 years, whatever, since my awakening, or even before that, all the times that fear tried to convince me that such and such was going to happen, worst case scenario, because fear always brings up the worst case scenario. And then reviewing and then seeing that wasn't even true. None of that was true. Like, I remember when I received the first summons to go to court for my divorce, and I didn't have a lawyer, and I didn't have money for a lawyer. And my ex had a lawyer, and we had to go to mediation. And I mean, mediation is when both parties get together and you try to come to an agreement, a mutual agreement that's satisfactory to everybody. And so, but it's being in a legal environment, which I was super triggered about that, because I come from, decades in law enforcement, and the trauma that I endured at the hands of law enforcement, because they were, trying to get me to, I don't know, like ridiculous things, trying to say that I was doing something wrong when I saved that cop's life. And I wasn't. I was, in my mind, I'm like, this is my job. I took an oath. I'm supposed to save lives. And they were trying to make it into something bad because they wanted to get rid of me, because I wouldn't blindly go along with corrupt things that I knew were wrong and sign my name to it, basically being the patsy for them. And I refused to do it. So they only want people that they can control. And I was refusing to use my light for bad. So that's not acceptable. Either you fall in line and you play the game, or you have to get out. So I was pushed out. And I mean, it's a blessing, but at the time, it certainly didn't feel like a blessing. It felt like the worst punishment for being good. That's what it felt like. And so being in the legal environment, I had to see, oh, they're not all bad. And I knew that already, but it was like that trauma was putting those messages into me. Like all law is bad. All legal is bad. All cops are bad. All blah, blah, whatever is bad. And that's not true. And realizing, like, not all things are black and white. It's not all police is bad, all law is bad. That's not true. There's good and not so good everywhere, even in the light worker community. I mean, I've come across a lot of that lately too. So in reminding myself, like, oh, that belief is not true. And then seeing beautiful, amazing light workers in the legal field that they don't even know that they're doing that, but they are. They're anchoring the light, whether they're awake or not. I could feel their energy. I could feel their light, their purity, and going completely out of their way to help me. And how blown away by their kindness and generosity I was, and seeing, feeling like, oh, I can do this. It's not true. I don't need a lawyer. And my fear was telling me, the programming in 3D is, oh, you need a lawyer for any legal thing. You need a lawyer. That's not true. If you have common sense, you can read and you have internet access. There's pretty much, you can do a lot. So in my own helping of myself, I navigated through that, asking questions, making phone calls, Googling things, looking things up, reading, whatever, and showing myself, look, that's not true. The belief that you had is not true. And then in so many other ways, like people telling me, you have to do this, you have to get a job, you have to work here, you have to go back there. And me disproving all of those beliefs, because the fear was telling me, oh my God, they're right. Other people know more than me. That's not true. Nobody knows more than you. You know what's right for you. And if it feels, scary, then it's not true. And so I had to really investigate that and see, well, does it feel good? Does it feel bad? Does it feel scary? Is it fear-based? Where is this coming from? And really like digging down and seeing, why do I think that? Why am I feeling that? And then discovering that you can flip it. If something comes, even if it's outside of your reality, it's coming from inside of you somewhere. So you can flip it if you get into a really aligned space and then act from that. But when you first initially, when it comes into your awareness, it's really, really important to not react. Just watch. Just in neutral observation, detached, watching a movie, looking like you're inside and you're looking out the window like that. And like no reaction, no agreeing, no okay, because they said so. No, just, I hear you. You don't have to agree to it though. I hear you. And then giving yourself time to number one, get into alignment. Number two, to listen for guidance. Ask for guidance. I've been asking every night when I go to sleep and every morning when I wake up, I ask to connect with the highest version of me, the me that knows everything. And I ask to bring into my conscious awareness the solutions that are perfect for me. Because, 80 different people can have solutions for your situation. That doesn't mean any one of those is going to be good for you, because they're just generic, blanket solutions. But you want the one that's perfect for you, for your situation, that's win-win for the people involved in your scenario. So asking for guidance, listening, pausing, like giving that wiggle room, that space to receive the guidance, because the guidance can come so subtle, but it feels like, oh my God, that's right. Why didn't I think of that sooner? It's so obvious, but you can't see it when you're like that lady who was like so sure she was going to die that night by animals digging in her trash. It wasn't what she was imagining. So she had scared herself into a frenzy. So that I have found myself being tempted to be scared into a frenzy, and none of it was true. So collapsing lie after lie after lie after lie, and it keeps happening. I'm trying to remember other things that have happened that are similar. And we can scare ourselves in so many ways that are not true. So just right now, the energy is really amped. And I'm always saying that because it just steady keeps going up. And Now the collective is involved. So not only is it yours, it's theirs, it's everybody is on high alert. All the crap in the media and like whatever, all that is being stirred up. So it's like, a hurricane of junk, and you having to get very still so that you can see, so that you know which way to go. And so another thing that comes to mind, because it's tax season here in the US, so I was scaring myself, the fear was telling me, oh my goodness, how am I going? And like things that are so mundane and ridiculous, really. But because, oh, well, now you're divorced. Now you're all alone. Like that lady in the 911 call. Now you're all alone. How are you going to do this? And it makes something very small and mundane and routine. It makes it into a giant deal. Oh no, I have to file taxes. Okay. Like that's not hard. That's easy. If anything, it's easier now. So, but I was starting to scare myself and like feeling again, having to go into the 3D quote unquote matrix and like having to do paperwork and things like that. And like just resisting it because I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do paperwork and I don't want to talk to those people and I don't want to do that. And it's like, okay, well, because I was feeling very separate. I was in that separate mentality of us versus them. And I didn't think I was, but that proved that I was because I was looking at it that way. And I hadn't realized that I had, that fear, because that's all you can call it, is fear of like, oh no, when I go into 3D, that's become a popular thing, talking about, oh, I have to go into 3D because it's been feeling like I've been in this bubble of, this high vibe, 5D energy, whatever you want to call it. And then when I have to dip down and intermingle with the others and like really seeing that as a bad thing, but then also finding myself bored out of my mind in the bubble. Well, that's proof that it's time to grow, because I remember feeling that way when I was in that law enforcement job. I felt like, okay, I've done everything there is to do here and I'm bored and this is boring and I want to get out of here. Well, that's a sign of growth and expansion. You're ready to grow. You're ready to go to the next level. And I'm feeling that again. I'm getting bored. I'm ready to grow. I want to mix it up. Okay, so then how can you say that and at the same time be scared or resist, going into mixing with people, meeting people, helping people, interacting with people, even if it's something as simple as going to the bank. I mean, it should be an adventure. It should be fun because you're being guided somewhere for a reason, even though in your perception, you think it's, oh, I have to go make this deposit, or I have to go, get checks or whatever the 3D excuse is. There's a bigger reason. You're supposed to exchange codes with people. You're going to go ground light. You're going to go anchor light. There's so many things that are happening on higher levels that than we are aware of at all times. And we forget because sometimes you fall back into the routine of, oh, I have to go get groceries. I have to go do this. I have to go do that. Well, you're not only getting groceries, you're doing a whole bunch of other stuff. You're picking up codes, you're giving codes, you're receiving, you're healing, you're all of that. It's interactive. We're all giving it to each other. Whether they're asleep or awake, it doesn't matter. They're still doing it. And you're still doing it, whether you forget or whether you remember. You're always powerful, so it doesn't turn off. And like remembering that, and remembering that we have a choice right now. Oh my goodness. Please remember, stay in your discernment and remember that you have power. You have a lot of power. So wield that power and choose for you and others around you. Even if something quote unquote bad happens to a neighbor, your friend, your sister, one of your kids, label it good. Label it, oh, this is great. And sooner or later, we're going to find out why it's great and shift it into great. Slap that great label on it. And then put the universe in charge of now show me all the reasons. Bring me all the evidence that proves what I'm saying. That proves that this thing that scared the crap out of me is great. Show me. Show me now. The tax thing. So I thought I was scaring myself. And I had myself in such a frenzy, even though I kept fighting it. And like I kept putting it off, trying to find out. I mean, it was ridiculous. The resolution to it. I acted and I sought information when I was in that high vibe aligned place, and it just resolved itself before my eyes because I acted from that aligned energy where this is wonderful, everything is wonderful, everything's divinely orchestrated, everything's in my favor. You know, life is turning out to be easier than I thought possible. Everything's always working out for me. And like constantly reminding myself that that is true, because it is true for everybody, not just me, for everybody at all times. But you are a powerful creator, and you can stay in the lesson if you want to. But I want to get out of the lesson. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy. And I want to see, like, part of it does feel like an experiment. Like, let's see what happens if I do this. I want to see what happens. You know, see it as an experiment, as an adventure, as you're investigating something, you're exploring something, you're mixing chemicals together to see what happens, what reactions you get. And from that place of fun and exploration, it's softer, it's more gentle, it's more fun, it's more joyful, and you're like a child playing. You're playing because if this is a game, right? It's a game to remember who we are, to remember how powerful we are. Well, then that means you have choices, lots and lots of choices. So choose that it's great, decide that it's great, and take it from there. See what happens, and be willing to see, be willing to call in that evidence that everything is wonderful for me.